Started. Again, I'm Kristen Richardson, the founder of Shira. Thanks for your time today. I know a few people are still going to be joining. I'm running the webinar all by myself today. So if you happen to are having any technical difficulties or have any questions throughout, I'm going to try my hardest to pay attention to what's popping up in the chat and in the Q&A. So feel free the entire time while we're talking. Don't feel like you have to wait till the very end. Just type in questions or comments either in the Q&A or in the chat, and I'll do my best to pay attention to that. Thanks for joining. I see a lot of names here that I recognize and a few new names, and I even am excited to see a few dads on the call today, in addition to a lot of moms. So thanks for joining. I'm here to share with everyone and be as transparent as I can about this whole category of assistance, whether it's family assistance, personal assistance, executive assistance, virtual assistance. There's just so many names being called to this category, and all of them are really growing as our lives become busier and busier. And I think the best way as a business leader to go about this, and as a busy parent myself, is just to be fully open and transparent about what all the solutions are and help everyone find the best solution for you. And let me share a few stats with you here in the beginning. You're probably showing up to this call today because you're a busy parent. You know busy parents, you know how hard it is to run a busy household today. And I'm here to tell you, you're not alone. I was feeling this way a few years ago, being a busy mom myself and having two little kids, working, getting paid to work outside the home, and so was my spouse. And life was just crazy. And once I started looking for solutions and learning about the stats that were out there of how I'm not alone, I found it really heartening to know that we're all really struggling. So right now, 88% of US moms say that if they were to get hit by a bus tomorrow, it probably would take 4 people to get all the things done for their family, which I think that's actually a little bit on the conservative side. I'm interested to see what you guys think on whether you think it would take 4 people. Some say 3, some say 5. I think it probably depends on the day, but I think we all feel like we're doing the work of more than just us, right? More than just one person. Millennial moms right now are reporting the highest level of burnouts. I'm personally a Gen X mom, and I had kids late in life. So I'm in that sandwich generation of both caring for small children and caring for aging parents. And that's tough. But millennial moms actually in particular are reporting the highest level of burnouts today by the demands of being a parent. They also are reporting that they're in therapy at least once a week. And moms in particular are saying they get less than 1 hour a day all to themselves, without anyone asking for anything, touching them, doing anything. And just an hour a day isn't enough. And this stat is really hard to read, but I know I personally was experiencing it, where today, fighting over division of work in the home with married couples with kids in the home, it's now surpassed even fighting over financial issues in the home within the United States. And I know I was struggling with it. And I say all the time, I love my spouse dearly, but just simply getting it all done is a really tough task today with everything that's going on in our lives. Some of you have probably heard the term the mental load of moms or the mental load of motherhood. And it really is just all of those things that are running through our head every single day when we're expected to be focused at work, we're expected to be focused with our kids or with our spouses, or even focused on ourselves during this time called self-care, which none of us can seem to find time for. But there's just so many things that we have to get done. And it's not just the doing of it, it's the thinking about it, right? It's the remembering everything that needs to get done and all the little tentacles that come with all of those things that mothers are carrying around. And if you Google the mental load of, the first thing that pops up is motherhood. Sorry to the dads on the call, but the first thing that pops up is not actually the mental load of being a dad. It is motherhood. Moms do tend to bear most of the burden of the mental load of it, even if the work share, the actual physical doing, is being shared by both people in the relationship. And so that's part of why there is such a growing trend of family assistance popping up all over the world right now. And I really started to struggle with this about 3 years ago. I was the chief sales and marketing officer of a healthcare company. My husband was running his own law firm. We had 2 small kids, 6 aging parents. Life is crazy. And I started wondering if in my work life, if I'm being offered the help of an executive assistant, why in my personal life was there not such a thing as a family assistant. And I really started struggling with where are the solutions out there for this. And I actually personally tried several different assistant companies that I'm going to share here with you today that are called virtual assistant companies. It's a whole nother category that we'll talk about. And I even tried to hire my own full-time assistant for my family, which did not go so well. So one of the things I want to demystify for everyone here today is there's all these different words, whether it's an executive assistant, a personal assistant, a virtual assistant, a family assistant. And then we're also going to introduce a new term today, which I just learned about a couple of years ago, called the house manager, which is a whole nother term we're going to talk about. So let's jump into it. I wanted to first map out for everyone. There are really two main factors that you can take into consideration when you're looking at all these different categories of solutions to help your busy life. And the two main factors are whether they're helping your professional life or your personal life, and then whether they're helping you only virtually or whether they're able to help you virtually and in person. There is a third factor that we will talk a little bit about here today, and it's always a factor with everything in life, and that's cost. And as you can probably imagine, the more someone's helping you, the higher it costs. The more it's personalized, the higher the cost. The good and the bad of it is there are solutions out there that run the gamut from actually really, really affordable / cheap all the way to, wow, that's a lot. I'm not sure who can afford that. But just to map out here, when you think of executive assistants, they're up in that top left quadrant of, it's the classic situation where you have the executive, they have their own full-time dedicated executive assistant, and they're probably dedicated to them at work, in the office, helping full-time as a full-time employee in their professional life, probably not bleeding too much over into their personal life. And the statistics actually show that when men have an executive assistant in the corporate environment, it does bleed a little bit over into their personal life. They're more likely to ask for help in their personal life from the executive assistant. But when women have an executive assistant in their professional life, they do have less of a tendency to ask the executive assistant to do things for their personal life. It's interesting to see that trend. Then as you move over into your personal life, you start to see a personal assistant and the introduction of the idea of a house manager. Now, a house manager is different. They do focus solely on your personal life. They are not getting involved at all in your work life whatsoever. But what is different about them is while they are helping you with your family and they're in person, they're virtual, they tend to be a full-time employee for your family who's highly, highly, highly focused on the kid aspect of your home. They tend to be someone who's coming over every day, getting your kids ready, helping with meals, cleaning the house, running the kids around to all their different activities, maybe meeting a contractor here and there. And they're a full-time employee that you're taking on with your own compensation and even to consider taking taxes out. And the thing is, they're highly focused on the family. And what I've learned from other families is that they tend to not necessarily want to help with, say, your extended family, your caregiving responsibilities, even for your aging parents, which, as I mentioned earlier, a bunch of us in the Gen X generation in particular are really dealing with. The other piece I want to talk about is the virtual assistant versus the family assistant. Let's start with the virtual assistant. That's the easy one. It started out mostly in the professional world, and it's exactly what it sounds like. They're virtual only. You're probably getting hit with a lot of Instagram or Facebook ads for virtual assistants. That is the fastest growing category of assistants that are out there. You'll find virtual assistants very, very cheap out there for your professional life. Some are even as cheap as about $1 for every 10 minutes. But the trick is they're virtual only, they're not dedicated to you, and they tend to be staffed with overseas talent. So just keep that in mind, okay? And then lastly is the family assistant. It's really rising as the newest category of assistant services, and we're going to dive a lot deeper into that in just a second. I wanted to quickly map too where some of the biggest companies fall on this map. So the executive assistant is a person you're going to hire. The house manager is someone who you would hire, whether it's your professional life or your personal life. But then on the bottom, again, we were talking about how these virtual assistants are growing so quickly. If you're looking really for help within your professional life, GetMagic is one of those overseas, highly cheap solutions that may be able to help you with it. Then on the flip side, Johanna is actually a company, again, overseas talent, somewhat affordable, not as cheap as Get Magic, but also is focused on families, highly focused on families. But they do not offer that real local presence or in-person help that you may be looking for. Another solution that kind of crosses over these two worlds is called Belay Solutions. And I actually know a lot of top women and families who use Belay Solutions. They help both in their professional life and in their personal life, and they're phenomenal. But here's the trick. You do have to commit to probably paying at least $20,000 a year just to get a dedicated 20-hour-a-week assistant dedicated to your professional life and your personal life. And let's be honest, most families cannot afford that. So that's why when I was going through this process a few years ago, I started testing all of these, trying them out, see what was working. And I'll be honest, nothing really worked for me or my family. I was trying Get Magic. It could do a few things like scheduling work calls for me, but really was not helpful at all in helping me with my family. I started working with Johanna a little bit. Again, overseas talent, didn't understand my market locally where I live in Richmond, Virginia. Also couldn't help me personally at all. And also didn't seem to have the real focus that I needed on, for example, I'm raising 2 little girls and very specific needs I had around that. And I might have, say, an assistant who lives in another country, who doesn't quite understand the types of dresses that I'm looking to buy for the legendary Santa tickets that we're going to go visit. And so I really wanted something that was highly personalized to families, to my local market, who understood what I needed and could help me in person. That was a big trick. I even tried to hire my own full-time personal assistant, and no one applied for the job. But the cool part was that all these people came out of the woodwork telling me that they also needed part-time assistance on the family side in their busy lives. And so that's why I went off and started my own company, actually, last year. So this growing category of family assistants, of which Shira and Johanna and somewhat of Belay Solutions are a part of, is they are highly focused on your personal life, not your professional life. The other piece is they're supporting parents, both parents and extended family members. We at Shira find in particular that the typical family who's benefiting the most from a family assistant service is either a family where both parents are being paid to work outside the home, so they have the pressure of that, or they're actually a single parent who's really struggling with keeping it all running. That's certainly probably the highest demand of needing help and support. But again, back to that sandwich generation, they also tend to need help across extended family members, not just helping the parents and the children, but there could even be aging parents or maybe even a sibling who could use help as well. So the entire family. And they specialize on what really modern families need today. It was very different raising kids. And when my mom raised me back in the 70s, my mom didn't have us doing piano lessons and speech therapy and doing 3 different sports, and life is just busy and the expectations are definitely greater today. And as you all know, our work lives bleed over so much more into our personal lives, and vice versa. Our personal life needs to bleed over a little bit more into our work lives. And so as that pressure increases, the assistance needs to increase and the support needs to increase as well. The other piece with family assistants is they do help virtually and or in person. That's one of the great things about Shira, is we're not just virtual, and that's a big distinguishing factor to it. The typical family assistant company can help across a myriad of areas. So here's several areas on here. There's almost nothing after 15 months of being in business as a family assistant service at Shira that we've said no to or have not been able to assist a family with. Everything from kids and pets to literally even taking your car to get the oil changed or to get it inspected, and booking your family's entire healthcare appointments. A lot of times when people come to a new service like this, when they're not used to having support with their family, a lot of times people will say, well, what can you do? And really the question ought to be, what can't you do? Because there's very little that you can't do as a family assistant service trying to help a family, especially when you can offer in-person help in addition to virtual. And if you have that local market knowledge and local market assistants who are actually jumping in and getting things done for a family, it's really easy and really efficient. We just have the time to do it. So who benefits the most? We talked a little bit about dads and moms. It definitely tends to be moms who are bearing most of the mental load and getting all the work done. Fortunately, as couples are younger, the distribution of workload in the home is becoming more equal between men and women in heterosexual relationships, which is great. But still, the studies show that women are still bearing most of the load. So moms are the ones who are benefiting the most from a family assistant. The families also who are benefiting the most are those who get paid to work outside the home. Typically, what happens is when you have your first child, it's probably still manageable, but once parents get into having their second kid and even into their third or fourth kid, when those kids are very young, birth through age 15, that's when it's the hardest, when you're really in the weeds. When they're young, you're not getting any sleep and there's so much to get done. But then even as the kids get into school, they're busy with activities and running around and their friends and birthday parties and holidays, and there's just so much to get done. The people who also benefit the most tend to be business professionals. We see a lot of attorneys and doctors come through and bankers. People in healthcare in particular, they're not sitting at a desk all day, so they don't have time to multitask. And those who are sitting at a desk all day with their calendar double and triple booked, they may be sitting in front of a computer, but there's no time to get anything done. And so that's where a family assistant can really take things off of their plate and just knock it out in a much more efficient way than a parent can. So within the family assistant category, again, just to list out these three main companies who are solution providers that you may want to look into. There's Shira, there's Johanna, and then I also want to dive into that house manager a little bit more. So when you're looking across all of these categories of ways to evaluate what's right for you and what's right for your family, of course, they're all focused on families. They're all family assistant companies, right? But then you have to look at the affordability of it. You have to really ask yourself, not only is it affordable, but where's the value there for you? And one of the things I always encourage people, whether it's a Shira member or whether it's even in decades of me being in the business world when I was coaching people on my teams, is you always have to think about what is your highest and best use, whether it's your highest and best use in compensation for you as an employee, or what is your highest and best use for you as a mom or a dad? What is the best value that you can be bringing to your family right now? You know, is your highest and best use playing with your child, or is your highest and best use trying to knock out meal ordering and meal planning and grocery delivery for next week? What's the best thing? And if there's a way to outsource that and to be able to do it in an affordable way, let's look at that, especially when you're looking at it for a short-term solution. It doesn't have to be forever. It can be something that you do for your family, maybe for a few months or even for a few years to take the load off. So you can look across all these categories of whether it's flexible or not. Shira does offer a flexible option, a month-to-month option, whereas Johanna makes you commit to an annual contract. The house manager, they're an employee, so that's up to you on how flexible you want to consider that, but they are a full-time employee typically. Also, when you're looking at when is their availability, as we discussed earlier, Shira does offer in-person and nights and weekends. It's highly personalized, which is actually why we charge a membership fee to begin with to join Shira. Some people ask us, well, couldn't it just be for free and then you just charge for the task time? But part of the onboarding is when we bring on our Shira new members, we really get to know you and your family, your preferences, what your needs are. And so we can make sure we can also staff appropriately and be there for your family. Johanna is another option where it is somewhat affordable for some families. Some families may not be able to afford $3,600 a year, of course. And they're also making you commit to an annual contract. But the thing is, they're not local. They're not right there on the ground, and they're not able to help you in person using overseas support. So just something to keep in mind. And then even with the house manager, there's pros and cons, right? It's highly expensive to hire that full-time person helping you with your family and your life. But at the same time, when they're there with your family all week long, are you really going to want to then ask them to help you nights and weekends, and maybe even help you with some more personal things that are for yourself, like even scheduling some very personal healthcare appointments or wellness appointments, or even helping you with the caregiving responsibilities for your aging parents. So then you start to put up more of a barrier between what you're willing to ask other people for help. And that's why I started Shira, where you really could tap into a whole team, a whole community of mostly stay-at-home moms who are working within the home and have a little bit of extra time to help working parents and stay-at-home parents get their full list done. It's a community of parents helping parents, and moms helping moms. Our Shira assistants in particular do tend to be local moms. So right now we have a team of 14 of them who live locally in the Richmond, Virginia market, where we're currently serving members. And they tend to have a little bit of extra time since their kids are in school during the day so that they can help our member families. We now have, I'm so excited to announce, we have 82 members that we're up to, which is pretty exciting after 15 months in business. And they do it really because they enjoy doing a little bit of flexible work to support other families. It's really meaningful work for them to be able to support other families and do something that they know how to do. Let's be honest, getting our work done as busy parents and supporting our families isn't brain surgery, but we just need more time to do it. And so our assistants have that, and they're so excited to be able to support other families in doing it. These are just a quick list of the top 10 things that we do for families every single day. It does vary from month to month, as you can imagine right now. It's all around the holidays and getting through this end of school year. But people are often surprised to see that we will do things like not just meal planning and scheduling all of your healthcare appointments and getting your kids scheduled for winter camps, but even very personal things like let's talk about getting you set up with a financial planner or with a good attorney for your estate planning. And let's even talk about how can we find you a better person to come in and dog sit for you. Let's also talk about, when was the last time you had your own annual physical, and making sure we're getting you in with a physician who you really know and trust and feel comfortable going to every single year. We're doing our best to look at your life holistically so that we can make sure we help you get it all done. And then we take all of that, and instead of it being all in your head as a mental load, we actually get it into our app so that we get it out of your head and onto paper. Very similar to, some people call us the Uber of family assistance, where let's get it into the app. All you have to do as a member is log in, put your tasks in there, or even just shoot us a text or an email and we'll add it for you. And then the assistants log in, they see what needs to get done, they grab a task and they start working on it for you. After 15 months in business, this number has finally increased, which is very exciting for the number of members. But we do have over 95% of our members who renew with us month after month. And this is just a few of the testimonies that we've had from them. It's the most rewarding work that I've ever done, as our members tell us about how they just feel happier and healthier and lighter. And their kids even notice that as parents, they have more time to play with them. They're not distracted in the evenings, and more time to be together as a family. If you'd like to check us out on the Shira website, we do have 3 membership plans currently available, and we're even running a 50% discount through tomorrow, the end of November. We're about to cut off new memberships right now because we really believe in being there for existing members, especially moms who sometimes are used to being let down. We want to make sure we're always there for our members and have enough time. So we're not going to run any risk of not being able to fulfill all the wishes of our members during the holidays, including my favorite request is not just the shopping, but we literally will wrap every single one of your Christmas presents so that you don't have to do that for the Christmas holidays. So with that, check out our website. We would be delighted to take care of you and your families and help you experience the difference of actually having support from a team of fellow parents and moms who get it. We understand all that you're under, the stress that you're under, all the balls that you're trying to keep in the air. So with that, I will actually turn it over to you guys and I see one question popping up in the Q&A, but feel free to type anything in the chat or raise your hand. I can even unmute you or type anything into the Q&A, and I'm happy to answer any questions. I see the first question from Stephanie says, do you require a commitment from Shira? Do you require, I think that means do you require a contract? We do not. We do not have a contract commitment from Shira. So you can do them monthly and just go month to month. Cancel anytime you want. If you want to try it, we even have a 30-day free trial where you can sign up and test us out and see what you like. Cancel anytime, although no one ever does. The few people who do put their memberships on pause, it's so wonderful. They tell us that we've helped them so much. We've helped them get to the point where their hair's not on fire. That's a phrase we hear a lot. My hair's not on fire anymore. I feel more balanced. It's so nice. And so they may pause it for a while and then turn it back on when things get a little crazier, but we do not require a contract at all. Any other questions out there? I would love to help as many people understand the pros and cons to all these different solutions that are happening. Let's see, we have another question that popped up. How does the dollar a minute work? Great question. So the different membership plans, they all charge $1 a minute for the time, but the advantage is if you do sign up for an annual plan, you actually can get free time built into it. So the annual plan, let me back up to this. If you sign up just monthly, you join as a member, and then you start paying for whenever we complete tasks for you. The onboarding call with our team is built in. There's no extra fee for that. Plus, we want you to be able to just check in with us, ask us questions, and not have their meter running all the time. But once we do start working on a formal task for you, we do charge $1 a minute. If you want to switch over to the annual plan, which a lot of our members do, sometimes they'll start out with the monthly plan, test it, fall in love with it, and then they upgrade to the annual plan, because then you get that 1 free hour every month that's built into it. And then after that, then you'll start getting charged $1 a minute. And then lastly, we have a lot of people who really love the premium membership to get that unlimited virtual help, but still get that 4 hours a month of the in-person help. And especially right now, let's admit that premium plan is not affordable for most families, and I know that. And so a lot of people are actually signing up right now for the 50% off that one, which I get. We have another question. How long does it typically take to complete a task? Ooh, that's a great question. It varies. So the big answer, I know this isn't an answer, is it does vary, right? So one of the things we have is we do have a service level agreement in place internally at Shira that someone is going to take your task within 24 hours. Someone will get back to you. When you're inputting a task, you also can put into it what your deadline is, what your budget is, when do you need it done, and we'll make sure we always stay within budget and stay on time and get it done when you need it done. Something maybe as simple as scheduling a healthcare appointment, right? Like, oh, you just need us to schedule like a massage or a doctor's visit or something. We can get it done like that. Other people have us managing their entire kitchen renovation. So that may take an actual, few months for us to knock that out for you. So it varies. But I think the most important thing is we've yet to find a task we can't do. And we always have someone take the task and start working on it within 24 hours of you submitting it into our system. So I hope that answers your question. Any other questions that we have out there? I'm not seeing any more. Again, it's 1:29, so I want to be respectful of your time. And I promised we would not go over the 30-minute mark because I know several of you are probably logging in, both from work and from nap time with your kids. Again, check us out, myshira.com. Again, use the code to get the 50% off through tomorrow. We have a lot of people who are joining right now so that they can get that extra help right now through the holidays. And we'd be delighted to support you and your family. If you have other questions, or if you'd like to just keep talking to me or someone else on the team, lots of people have very personal questions that they'd like to ask. Feel free to reach out to us at info@myshira.com. Thanks so much for your time. I really appreciate it. It's an absolute honor to support families, and I appreciate your time today. Thank you.